Come back to the channel. In my previous attempt at making this video, I had a few audio issues. I don't know what it was, but I'm trying again. So please, can someone in the comments let me know if this is working? If not, I will have to abandon altogether and do it another way. But anyway, hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Elliot, Royal Reviewer, and today we are going to be talking about some breaking news that has come in over the past hour, all about Prince Andrew and the latest developments in the ongoing saga, or his ongoing saga, regarding Virginia Roberts Giuffre. So, whilst I'm waiting for people to tell me whether or not the audio is working, I'm just waiting to see. Can you hear me? Before I carry on, can you actually hear me? Hello to people dropping in. I can see lots of people dropping in. We have 54 people watching already. Okay, yay, the sound is good. So we shall carry on. So yes, the breaking news is that the Queen Elizabeth, well, Prince Andrew is now not using his HRH title. So there has been, I suppose, and I've put it in my title as well because I wanted to explain the differences between being stripped of something and not using it. So today, because of the ruling that the judge in the Virginia Roberts Giuffre case, civil case that she's bringing about against Prince Andrew, dismissed all of his attempts to get the case thrown out. So in response to that, he has been effectively removed as an HRH and all of his military titles and appointments. Now, throughout all of this, over the past 2.5 years, he has kept his HRH and he has maintained his military titles, even though he hasn't actually been a working royal, even though he hasn't actually acted in any official capacity for the military. But he basically has been, well, his titles were kind of put in abeyance, which means that you still got them, but you don't technically use them or have any association with the military. But now they have actually been taken back to the Queen. So this is different. This is not the same as abeyance. Also, with regards to the HRH, he still has the HRH. So make no mistake about it, he is still a prince, he is still a duke, and he still has the HRH. But very much in the same way as Prince Harry still has his HRH, but he doesn't use it in an official capacity. This is now the same for the Duke of York. So Prince Harry effectively renounced his HRH because he stepped away and wanted to make his own money. Prince Andrew is now in the same kind of capacity, except he has had to do this because of the legal issues that are facing him. Interestingly enough, it also means that now he's receiving no funding from the British taxpayer. He's not using the HRH in an official capacity. He is also free, like Harry, to make his own money. Once whatever's going to happen is settled, whether the outcome might be, he is now free to go on Oprah, do interviews, write books, or have books ghost written for him, engage in any kind of business activity that he wants to do. So in a way, he is kind of free now, like Harry, to do exactly what he wants business-wise. But anyway, let's get back to the actual facts of the matter. So I'm going to read from an article, and I'm going to just pause and stop and talk about different things. If you do have any questions, do let me know, and if I see them, I will try and read them and answer them. So, the Duke of York's military titles and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen, Buckingham Palace has announced. I'm going to skip to the actual official statement as well. So the official statement reads, this is not made up words, this is the actual words. It's a statement regarding the Duke of York. Notice no HRH officially being used, but he is still classed as the Duke of York. With the Queen's approval and agreement, the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen. The Duke of York will continue not to undertake any public duties and is defending this case as a private citizen. There's a few things to unpick there before we go back to the article and carry on. So this is, and remember I said at the start of this video, there's been a little bit of misrepresentation of the Queen stripping Andrew of the title. So this statement, to me at least, clears it up. So with the Queen's approval and agreement, this is basically saying that the Queen hasn't dictated that he has the HRH removed effectively. It's with her approval. So basically it's saying we don't know who suggested it. Was it Andrew that suggested it? Was it the wider royal family? We have had reports in from other sources saying that the wider royal family had a big conversation about this. So I'm probably thinking it's more the wider royal family, Charles, William in particular. Was it the men in grey suits, the people that work at the palace? Or was it indeed the Queen herself? But the statement is saying with the Queen's approval. So whoever suggested it, she approved of it. But it doesn't say that she directly dictated it. And then, of course, she agreed to it. They've all been returned to the Queen because what will happen is all of these military appointments will eventually, not straight away, they will eventually be put out to the wider royal family. But let's not forget, there is no such thing at the moment as a wide royal family. There's no more Prince Harry. There's no more Meghan. There's no more Prince Andrew, Duke of York, as official working royals. So how they are going to be distributed, I don't know. I mean, I imagine that the Earl and Countess of Wessex will pick up a few. Charles has already got so many. Anne might take up the slack. I imagine William and Catherine will bear the biggest brunt. I think they will probably pick up a lot of his military associations. But until the Cambridge children grow up and can take on duties themselves, the royal family is now extremely limited. I mean, you know, effectively, Prince Charles has got his wish early. The monarchy really has been stripped back. Back to the statement. The Duke of York will continue not to undertake any public duties, a reference to, of course, the period when he has not been undertaking them. And this is the key bit. He is defending this case, and this is, you know, one of the first times that they've referenced the case directly in a statement. He's defending the case as a private citizen. So you might ask, what does this mean? Well, of course, it means that he will be funding any legal issues himself. He's just sold, the news just came, we thought that he'd sold this Swiss £17 million Swiss chalet. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Of course, Beatrice and Eugenie and Sarah, they were all there with their husbands and families literally just last week, I think. So we all thought that they'd sold this chalet ages ago, but no, they hadn't found a buyer. But it has gone through now. So the sale has gone through. We think it was partly purchased with a mortgage and partly purchased from cash between Andrew and Sarah. So we don't technically know how the ownership split is. Is it joint? Is it 50-50 as in she owns 50%, he owns 50%, which is not the same as buying joint. So who gets the funds? Have they done something in the meantime to make sure that Sarah, in effect, gets all the money and not Andrew? I don't know. I'm just saying, we really don't know how that sale has been broken up. But Andrew now has funds to fund this case as a private citizen, we think. Unless, of course, as I've just suggested, the money goes mostly to Sarah. We don't know how it's set up. But he will be doing it as a private citizen. I'm going to go back to the article I was originally reading and carry on. As I've said, all of this is in light of Virginia Roberts Giuffre's private civil case that she has brought against Prince Andrew. And of course, he has been doing a little bit of wriggling around recently, trying to get this case thrown out. The judge sort of said no, this case has got to go ahead. And I think that's what all of this is in reaction to. So what could it mean? Could it mean that Prince Andrew wants to go to court, and that is why the Queen and the wider royal family, the monarchy, has had to make this announcement now before it gets to trial? Or is he planning to settle out of court, which I know is typical in US civil cases? It's something like 90-something% of cases don't go to trial. It's not quite the same over here in the UK. People normally stick it out. So it's not that common here in the UK to settle out of court. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I think it's more prevalent in the US that it's expected to settle out of court. But of course, settling out of court is almost like an admittance of guilt. So if Andrew is planning to offer Virginia Roberts Giuffre anywhere between £3 and £10 million, is what has been put out there, then if she accepted it, it would be an admittance almost of guilt. But he wouldn't have to go through a trial. So you can see the dilemma on the table if you were Prince Andrew, if you were in that situation. Now, Virginia Roberts has indicated through her lawyer that she wants her day in court, that she wants this to go to court. Presumably, if he was found guilty at court, she would then be able to do a civil damages case anyway against him and possibly get some money. But this is key, her lawyer did say that she wants her day in court, but a settlement is always possible. So Virginia Roberts Giuffre is still open, it seems, to a settlement. Will Prince Andrew make an offer? We don't know. Is he planning to? Is that why the royal family is also trying to distance themselves from him even more? So, in regards to the title, he will stop using the title His Royal Highness in any official capacity, but as I said, he still possesses it. A spokesperson for the Ministry of Defence said it had no comment about the Duke's military titles being handed back to the Queen and that it was a matter for the palace. This is an ongoing news story, so I'm sure that there will be lots and lots and lots of developments as time goes on. There was something else I wanted to talk about as well. Today, this also could be in response to the mounting pressure that was put on the Queen to do something. I'm going to read a letter now, which was put on Twitter. It's from an anti-monarchy group, basically, and they issued a letter signed by 152 military veterans calling on the Queen to strip Andrew of all of his military titles. So I'm going to read that letter now in full, so bear with. It's addressed to the Queen at Buckingham Palace, and it says, "Dear Queen Elizabeth, Prince Andrew's position in the armed forces. We are writing to you as former members of Britain's armed forces. All of us have served our country and are proud to have done so. For that reason, we are particularly upset and angry that Prince Andrew remains a member of the armed forces and continues to hold military titles, positions and ranks, including that of Vice Admiral of the Royal Navy. It has been 11 years since the press revealed Prince Andrew's inappropriate friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Since that time, Prince Andrew has shown himself to be uncooperative and less than truthful about that relationship. He has made several unbelievable claims during a BBC interview in late 2019. We all remember that interview, don't we? Which only led to him stepping back but not stepping down. Now that Ghislaine Maxwell has been convicted of sex trafficking, a number of facts of the matter have been established in a court of law. Regardless of the result of Virginia Giuffre's civil case against Prince Andrew, his position in the British Armed Forces is now untenable. Were this any other senior military officer, it is inconceivable that he would still be in post. Officers of the British Armed Forces must adhere to the very highest standards of probability, honesty and honourable conduct. These are standards which Prince Andrew has fallen well short of. It is hard not to see, when senior officers are reportedly describing him as toxic, that he has brought the services he is associated with into disrepute. We are therefore asking that you take immediate steps to strip Prince Andrew of all of his military ranks and titles, and if necessary, that he be dishonourably discharged. We understand that this is your son, but we write to you in your capacity as head of state and as commander-in-chief of the army, navy and air force. These steps could have been taken at any time in the past 11 years. Please do not leave it any longer. And it's signed by all the people that wrote it. So mounting pressure has been upon the Queen and the wider royal family to do something about the situation. Right, I'm now going to skim back up the comments. So hello to everyone who said hello to me. And I'm just going to read right. Kelly Dugas says Prince Andrew can still be addressed as His Grace, Your Grace in certain settings. He is still the Duke of York, so you can still address him as Your Grace if you want to. I don't think many people will want to, but you can if you want to, because he is still the Duke of York. He still has, for those people that are just joining, he still technically has the HRH. He just can't use it in the very same way that Prince Harry still has the HRH, but doesn't use it for anything, for any purposes. So he hasn't had it removed. He's still a prince. He's still a prince of Britain. One person I know that I've been speaking to privately did say about diplomatic protection. So that person was obviously thinking ahead to if ever there was, this trial, that it went to trial, that he was found guilty, what would happen? Would he have diplomatic protection, or would he have to go to the States to face trial, or to face the penalty of any convictions if they were put? Basically, as far as I'm aware, he would still have diplomatic protection because he still technically has the HRH. It's the same for Prince Harry. Technically, Prince Harry would still have, I think, that. Of course, probably different for Prince Harry if ever he needed to use it for whatever reason, because he lives overseas. But because Andrew resides over here in the UK, I think he would still have that diplomatic protection. Don't quote me on it, but I think because he still has the HRH, I think that still stands. Which also brings us to, some people have been asking about Royal Lodge, which is the house that Prince Andrew lives at. A very, very large, grand house. Used to be the Queen Mother's residence. It's in Windsor Great Park, so it's not too far away from the Queen at Windsor Castle. Basically, he can still live there, so he isn't being stripped of his house. And the reason for this, which I'm going to read you now, in fact, I have made a video about this separately, but I'm going to read it. So let's just go down to the bit that I want to read. In August 2003, the Duke of York was granted a lease agreement by the Crown Estate for 75 years. It included Royal Lodge, a gardener's cottage, the Chapel Lodge, 6 lodge cottages, and police security accommodation, in addition to 40 hectares of land. The lease agreement required Prince Andrew to carry out, at his own expense, refurbishments estimated at £7.5 million at September 2002 prices. It also provided for a premium payment of £1 million. So, basically, the work carried out was estimated to cost £5 million, and the prince should be given the option to buy out the national annual rental payment set at £260,000 for £2.5 million. So basically, he paid £7.5 million of his own money to basically buy a 75-year lease on Royal Lodge. That still stands. That hasn't been stripped. That hasn't been taken away. So he can still use that as long as he can afford to privately fund it and run it. Because even though he's paid for the lease, he still has to pay gas, electric, water, maintenance bills, all the rest of it. So he can stay there as long as he can afford to privately fund it. And I spoke about this at the start of this video. Now that he's not using the HRH, he hasn't received any public funds since he stepped back. He lost his offices at Buckingham Palace when he stepped back a couple of years ago. So now that he's not using the HRH, that is effectively being stripped, but not technically, then he is free to make money in his own capacity. If Oprah wanted to do an interview with him and pay him once all this has been settled. He could, if he wanted to write a book about his life and get it published, if somebody was willing to publish it, he could. He could do any kind of private business activity, property, whatever it might be. So he is free, like Prince Harry, to now make his own money. So as long as he can afford to fund Royal Lodge, he can still technically stay there, I suppose. Right, I'm going to go back to the comments and see what people are saying. Maureen says, well, it was to be expected. I am so sad. Well, yes, something had to happen. You're sad for his two daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, who have held their heads high. And if you cast your mind back to the Newsnight interview, the disastrous interview, basically, Prince Andrew used Princess Beatrice, I think it was, as an alibi. He said that he was at Pizza Express in Woking with Beatrice, and he vividly remembered the event because it didn't happen very often. I read probably 2 weeks ago, I think, that he now wasn't putting that forward as evidence, that he wasn't putting Beatrice forward, because if ever this came to trial, his daughter, if he's using her as an alibi, would have to be called up to be questioned. And I think basically he's trying to save her from being called up as a witness. Does this indicate that he was telling a lie? I mean, you know, some people are going to have their opinions on that one, so I'll leave that for you to have your own opinions on that. But now I don't think Beatrice is being put forward as some kind of alibi. Deb says he needs to be stripped from his HRH title. I mean, that is a completely separate matter, but he's not using it. He's definitely not using it. X828 says, so after the legal issues are done, he gets his titles back. That is unclear. Basically, I think most people, including the royal family, don't anticipate him returning to royal duties in any capacity, probably for any reason. But let's just hypothetically say, this could turn out to be true as well, that it goes to trial, that he doesn't settle out of court, and he effectively wins, and he doesn't get any kind... Yeah, let's just say he wins. Basically, he would still be, his reputation would still be in tatters. We would still technically be waiting maybe for the criminal side of things to put a case towards him. So even if the Virginia Roberts Giuffre case doesn't come to anything, I still can't see that he would come back. So I would hazard a guess. It's not complete certainty, but I would hazard a guess, a very strong guess, that this is it. That he will remain the Duke of York for the rest of his life, but never use the HRH, which he does still possess, as I've said a few times during all of this. Amanda says, will he have to pay the taxpayer back? Well, for what? For what? Maybe police protection, but then he's still technically a prince, and I think Prince Harry still had, when he came over for the Diana unveiling statue, I did hear that he was met at the airport by British security, i.e. protection officers, and he was kind of escorted back to Windsor, back to Frogmore, where he stayed for the duration of when he was here during his quarantine period. So I think he had, basically I think when Prince Harry's back in the UK, he has the protection. It's just it's not being funded when he's overseas. And I think that's been the same way for Prince Andrew. Even though he stepped back from public life, he still had that afforded to him. So no, I don't think he will be paying anybody back anything. Sterling says, oh no, don't give Andrew any ideas about going on Oprah. You know Oprah would have him. That would be a huge coup. I mean, my goodness. Oprah would be rubbing her hands together, I'm sure. So yes, who knows? Who knows how which way this is going to go. Stephanie Adory says they are going to kill Queen Elizabeth with all this nonsense and not having her prince around to comfort her. The Queen has had a very tough year. We all know the Queen has had a very tough year. She lost her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. Harry and Meghan officially completely stepped back and confirmed that they were going to remain overseas. We've had everything with Prince Andrew. We've had health concerns. We've had the pandemic. Yeah, basically, there's been a lot going on for the poor Queen right now. But we do have the Platinum Jubilee coming up very, very soon. Thank you, Deb, who says, love your jumper. Marion says, where will his money come from? Possibly the sale of his Swiss chalet for £17.5 million. I think he paid back the previous owner's instalment that he missed. But like I said, we don't know what split the ownership is because it was owned but purchased between Sarah, his ex-wife, the Duchess of York, and of course himself. So we don't know in which percentages. And has something been done to maybe tip more the ownership in Sarah's favour to avoid him having that amount of money? We don't know. Right, I'm gonna skip all the way down to the bottom just to see what people are saying. Okay. PX says going on Oprah would further drag his name in the dust, but he'd likely get money for it. Stephanie says it is the undercover constant hustle for money and importance by royal extended family members that makes them all vulnerable to horrible people like Epstein. Has anybody read Harry Potter? I'm sure some of you may have done. There was a character in there, I think he was called Professor Slughorn. And Slughorn used to run a club and he used to try and collect, if you like, the friendship and the trust of key students that he thought would one day go on to be powerful and influential. I see very much Epstein as being a bit of a slughorn. He liked to collect the rich and the wealthy and the powerful people. He liked to extend his influence and connection and have many fingers in many pies. There was Trump, the Clintons, the list is endless. So I very much see Epstein as a bit of a people collector, a bit of a slughorn. A very bad slughorn. Nancy says, why doesn't my badge show up? I have no idea. I am imagining maybe there is a problem with something, but I don't know from my end because it's all done through YouTube. Right, I'm going to go all the way down. Leanne says, great analogy. Yeah, it would only make sense if you've read Harry Potter, but there you go. Matilde says, Oprah would not pay him like she did with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Well, we don't know technically that she paid Harry and Meghan, but who knows? It would be a big scoop. I'm sure it would make her a lot of money. And yeah, Sarah has also done Oprah as well. When Sarah has made a few mistakes, she has gone on Oprah and basically prostrated herself and admitted her wrongdoings and made a lot of money. Hayden the King says, the issue of security is complicated because the police protection officers work for the police directly. Yes, absolutely. So people who may have a misconception about police protection officers, that they work directly for the royal family, they don't. They work for the police, which in turn works for the government. So no, they don't. Basically, if you have a police protection officer, they can override you. It's not the same as having private security. How you sometimes see Britney Spears with, you used to see her out with that big burly protection officer security guard. It's not the same. Basically, Britney could boss around that security guard. She could override him, tell him where she wants to go, and he'd have to do it. With a police protection officer, they don't. If they think it's unsafe, they say no. Diana's police protection officer wrote a book saying that sometimes he put his foot down and said, no, it's not safe, or if you're going there, I'm definitely coming with you. He even told her on many occasions to put her seatbelt on because she was known for not wearing a seatbelt, so he says. So, yes, basically, there is a world of difference. Basically, you are safer with a police protection officer. Deborah says, I love you. You are right on. You are professional and kind. Thank you so much. I like to talk very matter-of-factly about these things because that's all that you can do. Navin says, why would Meghan Markle be involved in the civil case? As far as I'm aware, she wouldn't. Although I did see one story somewhere saying that maybe she could be called as a witness because of things that she may have seen or heard. But I don't think that that's highly likely, because she wouldn't have, heard or seen anything around the time that this is alleged to have happened. So this was way before Meghan came into the family. So unless Meghan's heard something or seen something from Harry or other family members that may know something, then I doubt very much that Meghan will be called as any kind of witness in this situation whatsoever. So I agree. I don't think she has anything to do with it whatsoever. Hussein says Beatrice and Eugenie aren't losing their titles. Yes, they are absolutely not losing their titles. They are still HRHs. In fact, as I've said before, the Duke of York still has the HRH. He's just not using it. Lauren, thank you, who says it's good to see me back on the channel. I wish it was under happy news, not breaking news that's come out. HM the King says the dukedom cannot be removed without parliamentary involvement. Exactly. I think dukedoms have been removed in the past. I think it was during the time, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was during the time just after the war, or during the First or Second World War. And basically anyone who had a connection to that side, or that showed allegiance to that side, had their dukedoms revoked by Parliament. So yes, absolutely, you are correct. It cannot be removed without parliamentary intervention. But that's not to say it might not happen. H. London says, exactly, this is just one more horrible thing for Her Majesty to face. She has been through so much loss and family difficulties. Yeah, this year has been terrible for her. S. Bell 1959 says the Queen should totally remove his military titles. Well, they have been. They have been handed back to the Queen. She will give them out to other family members when she sees fit to do so. Once I think a suitable home has been found for them. So once there's a good fit, they will go out there. Now, before I go off, have you got any questions that I haven't answered? Do let me know. I'm also going to refresh my news pages, because this is a developing story. So there could be things coming out whilst I am online. So I don't think anything's come out. Oh, there is a new analysis by a royal correspondent. So basically just saying, as I've said before, that the royal family are now trying to formally distance themselves from everything that's going on right now. Also, as I've said before, this is with the Queen's agreement. So she hasn't said that she's dictated it, but it is with her agreement. So who put forward this motion of kind of, effectively relinquishing the HRH and the military titles? It could be to save face rather than it being imposed on him later if it doesn't go his way in court. I definitely, as I've said before, think that the door is firmly closed now in terms of a return for public life. I can't see him returning, even if Virginia doesn't succeed in her case. Now, there is one thing that I've just read here which I haven't addressed, and that is his role as Councillor of State. So a Councillor of State is basically in the Queen's absence, if she was abroad overseas or incapacitated in terms of mind or body, a Councillor of State can act on her behalf. Prince Charles is one. So many, the people in line to the throne can be Councillor of State. I do even believe Prince Harry is still a Councillor of State. So it is unclear whether he still remains a Councillor of State. I would hazard a guess at this stage that he still does. Again, I think it would take probably Parliament to remove him as a Councillor of State. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else coming in. I will just read a list of the titles that have been taken from him. So these titles have got to be redistributed within the wider royal family. Honorary Air Commodore of RAF Lossiemouth, Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Irish Regiment, Colonel-in-Chief of the Small Arms School Corps, Commodore-in-Chief of the Fleet Air Arm, Royal Colonel of the Royal Highland Fusiliers, Deputy Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Lancers, Queen Elizabeth's own, and Royal Colonel of the Royal Regiment of Scotland. He also has some overseas honorary roles, including Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Highland Fusiliers of Canada and Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal New Zealand Army Logistics Regiment. So, yeah, basically, that is it. So I'm going to go back and see if anyone has any burning questions. Robert North says, thank you for reporting this. You are more than welcome. Maureen says, Charles doesn't want Andrew's daughters involved in helping the monarchy. Well, we don't know that for sure. We're not for sure. It's been reported that Charles doesn't want any more working royals. But like I said, because there has been a very sharp decrease in working royals, no Harry, no Meghan, now no Andrew, and the Queen's own cousins are getting older. They're already, you know, what you would probably class as elderly. They won't be around forever. The Queen won't be around forever. The Queen has so many hundred patronages, maybe 300 patronages. The cousins have possibly hundreds, you know, each. There's going to be a lot of work, a lot of slack to take up, and there won't be the amount of royals to take it up until the Cambridge children become of age. So, although Charles may not have wanted Beatrice and Eugenie to take up that kind of mantle, I do think there is a need for them. So will Charles respond to this kind of rapidly shrinking monarchy with a sense of that there could be a role for Beatrice and Eugenie, one perhaps that he didn't envisage to begin with? Don't forget, things can change. I've just seen Lady Louise pop up on my screen. Yes, I love Lady Louise. She's interesting. She's a really interesting royal. She looks very much like the Queen. She's, of course, the daughter of the Earl and Countess of Wessex. And, yeah, Edward and Sophie. And I do think that she would be a very interesting member of the royal family. Of course, she's not of age yet to do it in terms of, you know, she'll be going on doing more schooling. She may have her own ideas for career, and all the rest of it. So nobody wants to make her do something that she doesn't want to do. But I think she'll be very interesting. And also her brother, the Viscount Severn as well. So, yeah, Louise and James could also be ones in the future to take up some slack. But Beatrice and Eugenie are there and ready, seemingly willing now to do it. So will Charles change his mind? We don't know. I'd love to ask him. I really, really would. Carolina says, well, no one is above the law. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do hope that the letter of the law is followed. Anton says, Beatrice and Eugenie won't want it after how Charles has treated them. I'm sure they're happy with their lives and young family. I'm sure they're very happy. They have seemingly, you know, really good lives. They have good husbands. So it seems from the face of it looking in, they have their children. I imagine that they are very happy. But they do also have a sense of duty. Whenever the Queen has asked them to attend any events with her, to accompany her, they've always done it. They've always sort of, you know, dropped what they're doing and gone to help the Queen. So, and not received any money for it either, it seems. So, so yeah, I do kind of think that they would be ready if they were asked to do so. By the way, we have 345 people watching, so hello to everybody. Do take this time to subscribe to the channel. I do pop on and do royal live chats whenever there is something to talk about. So do make sure you are subscribed to the channel and check out my other videos on the channel too. Sharona said, I can't believe August is one very soon. Yes, August. What a name. My birth month as well. But yeah, time is flying, and all the royal children are growing up. I mean, my goodness, I saw, you know, a recent-ish photo, I think it was the Christmas photo of Prince George and the Cambridges. My goodness, the children have grown so much. And Princess Charlotte, let me know. from the Christmas card photo. I said it from when she was born. I said she looks like Princess Diana. Lots of people said the Queen, but if you look at a photograph of Princess Diana at the same age as Charlotte, she looks like Princess Diana, absolutely. Right, let's have a look. Okay, so unless we have any more pressing further questions, I will go. And if anything comes up, anything new, I will possibly come on and do a live chat. I'm just, again, refreshing some royal news to see if anything else has come out. I don't think it has. So there we go. Just quickly before I go, I'll read the Queen's statement again for those just joining. With the Queen's approval and agreement, the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen. The Duke of York will continue not to undertake any public duties and is defending this case as a private citizen. So there we go. Thank you for watching this video. If you have weirdly enjoyed it, I know the topic of conversation hasn't been a very positive one, but if you have enjoyed my reporting of it, please give the video a big old thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment if you have any questions that I haven't covered. If you leave a comment, I may cover it in an upcoming video. And of course, make sure you are subscribed and the notification bell is hit. So from me in Shropshire, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.